Digital games is really the norm these days. People aren't really buying games as much as they used to because now you have access to buy a game from the sitting of your couch. This really all started with the PS3 era, PS3, 360, Wii, and it was kind of revolutionary too to see games you could actually buy them on a store rather than having to go to a physical store to buy the game. I personally like to collect physical games myself, but the ratio for sure is higher with digital than it is physical, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The PS5 is the current generation, and they've been working on bringing back older classic games from like the PS1, PS2, PS3 era, and it's nice to see some games that we are familiar with to play them once again on new hardware. I went on the store to take a look to see what they got, and I did cherry pick, and I picked 8 games that I feel like people who have played PS1 games before or want to play these games on new hardware, or you're curious, these games are ones I would recommend that you should definitely check out because they're all mostly different from each other and they're all classic games. For the record, most of these you can buy on the store, you don't have to subscribe, and they're pretty much $9.99. I definitely wanted to mention that these are affordable. So without further ado, let's dive into this list of PS1 games you can play on PS5. Number 1. I've mentioned Ape Escape a lot on this channel, and it definitely belongs on this list because, well, this game was made by Sony, and it's definitely one of the best ones on the PS1. I won't go too much into this game, but yeah, it's a 3D platformer, and it's got great graphics, great controls with the DualShock ability, and it's just a fun game overall. If you play through this one, well, I mean, you can play the second game too, which is also on the store. I don't know if the third game is or not, I didn't check that one, but the second one is definitely just as good or even better than the first one. If you like Crash and Spyro and you've never heard of this game or played it, well, you definitely should check out Ape Escape. Not to mention, it's only $9.99 on the PS5 store, so what are you waiting for? Check out Ape Escape, it's a great time. Number 2. You can't really go wrong with the Tekken franchise. Tekken 2 is definitely one that's a must-play on the system. It's definitely not as refined as Tekken 3, I mean that's just kind of obvious, but you actually can't play any of the Tekken games except the second one. Tekken 2 is still pretty good though. It's got good animation, good characters, and just fun gameplay overall. I'm not a huge fighting game connoisseur, so I'm not really that good at them. I get enough just to get by. But I can definitely say with the Tekken series, I find the combos to be kind of easy to learn and pick up and play, rather than playing something like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. I don't know, that's just me, but I'm sure someone will disagree with me in the comments. But Tekken 2 is definitely a good one that you should definitely play, plus it's only $9.99, and one of the best, and you should definitely check it out.
Great. You win.
Number 3. One of the first games that comes to a lot of people's minds with the PS1 is definitely the Twisted Metal franchise. Twisted Metal 2, and to be specific, was a very fun game whenever I was a kid. I never got to play the other ones, just this one, so Twisted Metal 1 is available on the store, FYI, so whichever one you prefer. But the second one I can definitely say is a great game. It's super fun, you have a lot of different characters you can use with different abilities, and you just go in for a huge brawl with cars and guns. I mean, it's just badass. Twisted Metal for sure hit its stride back in the day. They were just pumping out sequels left and right, and it was just a huge franchise, but it's definitely died down since the PS3. I'd love to see Twisted Metal make a comeback, because man, these games are so fun to play. This game is also fun to play with a friend, so Twisted Metal 2 for $10 on the store, you definitely can't beat that deal. I would definitely check this out if you're interested in these kind of games that are vehicular combat based. Number 4. Resident Evil has no introduction that is needed. I feel like everyone knows Resident Evil that plays video games, and Resident Evil Director's Cut was an awesome staple on the PS1. This is the only Resident Evil game that's actually available on the catalog for the PS5, but nonetheless, it's still an iconic and classic game. This game, of course, did get remade, so, I mean, I'll be honest, I like the remake more than this one, but there are people out there who prefer the original, so it just depends on preference. Nonetheless, though, Resident Evil's a fun franchise in general. The first one is a good place to start, too. Unfortunately, this is the only game on this list that you actually can't purchase individually. You must subscribe to PlayStation Plus Premium in order to play this, and I don't blame you if you don't want to do that just to play one game, because it's like 18 bucks a month or 160 a year, which is insane. However, if you don't care and you want access to play a whole lot of games and you're already a subscriber, well, I definitely would check this one out. This is definitely a classic. Number 5. Hot Shots Golf is one of my all-time favorites on the PS1. It was developed by Camelot, so they were the guys who made the Mario Golf games after this one. The rest were developed by Claphands, which are still pretty good. But the first one always remains to be my favorite. I don't know, something about this game just is so nostalgic. I played this game a lot with my papa growing up, so it was a really fun time overall with this game. Like the other games except Resident Evil, this one's also $9.99, so definitely not bad for this one. You can actually probably buy it physically for that price as well. But if you just have a PS5 only and it's digital, Hot Shots Golf's a pretty good golf game. It's definitely a little old, so it's not perfect like it would be with a modern golf game, but it's still very fun nonetheless, so definitely check it out if you're interested. Number 6. Siphon Filter is a series that I didn't get a chance to play until my adult years, but Siphon Filter for sure has shown its age a little bit, but the games nonetheless are still pretty fun to play. I chose the first one even though all three are on there, and either one you can really just pick, but I decided to pick the first one because, I mean, if you're going to get into a series, you might as well play the first one. But Siphon Filter, it's a third-person action-adventure game. You go around shooting people, using gadgets, and it's a cool, fun little time. Hard to believe the guys who made this made Bubsy 3D. Jesus, it's like night and day here. But this game is indeed on the PS1 catalog for the PS5. Like Twisted Metal, Siphon Filter also was pumping out a lot of sequels back in the late 90s into the 2000s, and then it just kind of died after that, so be cool to see another entry in the series make a return someday. But until that day comes, we can always play the original games, and definitely check them out if you're interested on the PS5. Number 7. Out of the small selection of JRPGs on this catalog list, I thought Legend of Dragoon was probably the best option for a broader audience. This game was definitely a Final Fantasy killer, and it definitely had some moderate success back in the day. The bells and whistles here of a JRPG though, you have a main character named Dart, and some shit's going down here, and you do have turn-based combat like you normally do. You also have like this timing system too, reminds me of stuff like Super Mario RPG, and makes the game have a little nice touch to it. This game overall visually looks awesome, at least for the year 2000 on PS1 hardware, but definitely shows its age as well, but nonetheless doesn't stop the game from being fun. If you haven't played all the JRPGs on the PS1 and maybe you skipped the Legend of Dragoon, or maybe you're interested, I definitely would check this one out. It's only 10 bucks, yet it's a quality game brought to us by Sony.
Yes! Yes!
Number 8. Karushi Final is actually a sequel to Intelligent Cube. We actually got that game, but not Karushi Final, and this was only released in PAL regions in Japan. This game though, at its core, it's just a puzzle game, and it plays a lot like Intelligent Cube. I'll be honest with you guys, I played Intelligent Cube as a kid, I could not figure that crap out. I kept dying and said, dude, this game is so weird. but I sat down and played this for a minute, and this one is definitely a tough one to learn at first, but when you learn how to play the game, it's kind of fun. Cool thing is too, for some reason we got this on the catalog store, even though Intelligent Cube's there as well, so like Twisted Metal or whatever, you can choose either one and can't go wrong either way. I'm not a huge expert at puzzle games, and I do think they're quite fun, and this one for sure has a learning curve to it, but this one's only $10, and we never got this game in North America, so I would definitely check this one out if you're interested in a puzzle game like this. And there you have it. Those are 8 PS1 games that you should definitely play that are available to access on the PS5. There's not that many games to choose from. There's only about roughly 40 or so, and you can't go wrong with most of the choices on the list. But I felt like these 8 games definitely stuck out, and I wanted to mention these in case you don't know much about the PS1, or you want to be reminded of what you can buy and access on the store. Sony needs to get to work on adding more stuff though, because 40 games is just not enough. They have so many games to work with. There's 4,000 technically if you count all regions, and it'd be a good way to play some of the more expensive, pricier games too. So definitely a good way to play some PS1 games if you don't want to buy all of, the original hardware, all that stuff. Just stick to simplicity with your modern console. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoy this kind of content, be sure to give it a like. You got something to say? Leave a comment down below. And of course, you want to see more content like this in the future? Be sure to hit the subscribe button. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy.